बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अली अल्लाह मदद फरमा। अल वाहिदुल कहार। अली अल्लाह मदद फरमा। हस्बुनल्लाह व निअमल वकील व निअमल मौला व निअमन नसीर। हस्बुनल्लाह व निअमल वकील व निअमल मौला व निअमन नसीर। हस्बुनल्लाह व निअमल वकील व निअमल मौला व निअमन नसीर। हस्बुनल्लाह व निअमल वकील व निअमल मौला व निअमन नसीर। हस्बुनल्लाह व निअमल वकील व निअमल मौला व निअमन नसीर। हस्बुनल्लाह व निअमल वकील ونعم المولى ونعم النصير. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير. شكرا لله والحمد لله. شكرا لله والحمد لله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to all friends online. We have gathered today to read this beautiful article written by Rashida Nur Muhammad Hunzai Sahiba about Maula Ali. And this article is very simple, very brief, beautiful, very focused on Maula Ali. The reason we are reading together so we get a chance to praise our Maula, review whatever we knew from our history in the past, and for some of those who did not know, are learning to. Today, we will be reading the part 3, and this part is focused on Maula Ali's role as the defender of Islam. So let us read, and then I'll briefly explain and add few things. Hazrat Ali as the foremost defender of Islam. In the years after the Hijrah, the Muslims continued to face the opposition and enmity of the Meccans. So we all recall from the last time that Muslim had immigrated from Makkah to Medina. They all became brothers, Ansar and Mahajir, and they were living life peacefully. But Meccans were not happy seeing Muslims prospering. So what they were doing, because of their enmity to Prophet Muhammad, the battles came into existence. Rashida Sahiba says here, this hostility forced the Prophet to defend Islam on the battlefield. In this aspect of his life too, Hazrat Ali was the Prophet's foremost supporter. As she says, the messenger was the architect and the founder of the Islamic State. His minister Ali was eliminator of the obstructive forces which stood in the way of its establishment. For he was the hero and the bearer of the banner of the messenger in every decisive battle. So surely Maula Ali's role was very important and very strong. Our Prophet was the founder of the Islamic State and he was the visionary or architect. But Maula Ali was someone who dealt with any and all the obstruction or hindrances in whatever Prophet Muhammad wanted to do. He was always the first, he was the hero, and he was always winning all the battles. It is reported that Hazrat Ali fought in 18 battles by the Prophet's side. In addition, he led numerous expeditions. An important point to note is that Hazrat Ali was never asked by Prophet to participate in a military expedition under the leadership of any other person. Prophet intentionally always kept Maula Ali with him. Why? Do we recall that Dawat-e-Ashira In that Dawat, Maula Ali said that I'll be with you. And Prophet Muhammad said, surely you will be with me, supporting me. Until the end of Prophet Muhammad's life, that was the reality. In every battlefield, Maula Ali fought under Prophet Muhammad or on his own, not ever in anybody else's leadership. In other words, Prophet very clearly showed the Islamic world that either he himself is the leader or Maula Ali, no one else. In this part, the most renowned battles of Islamic history will be discussed to show the outstanding and heroic role of Hazrat Ali. They are the battles of Badr, Uhud, Khandak, Khyber, and Hunain. Not only are they famous in Islamic history for various other reasons, but it is no exaggeration to say that defeat in each one of them could have been reversed the tide of Muslim history. So these battles, why we are going to only read about these battles, because they were very decisive battles for Islam. And if these battles were not won, today Islam may not look the way it is looking today. And surely in all these battles, Maula Ali's role is very evident. It was due to Maula Ali that these battles were won. So surely because we are talking about Maula Ali, we are going to focus on these battles. And if those who are interested to know more about these battles, history, there is so much written about these battles. One can go and read the books of history. But when we read this article, we'll try to focus on what's been written here and in relationship to Maula Ali. Battle of Badr. In 624, a small ill-equipped band of Muslims, only 330 to be precise, 313 Mu'minin, we know that, had to face a Meccan army 3 times as large, boasting all the paraphernalia of war, such as horses, camels, and armor. The odds were so great against the tiny Muslim army that the Prophet prayed to Allah for help, saying, God, if this Muslim band will perish today, you shall not be worshipped. Prophet is saying that. Can you imagine? The Prophet's use of these words demonstrates how desperate the situation must have been on that day for the Muslims, as the two armies faced each other. The customary call for the individual combat came from the enemies of Islam. So during that time, the format was such that they will call upon first individual combat. And after that individual combat, the armies would fight. So warfare in Arabia was conducted in this way from the ancient times. Before the general melee began, the best warriors, the pride of the clans, would step out to engage in single combat. Their prowess and courage would then be enshrined in poetry, which was so dear to Arab heart. So whoever would won the war or battle, they'll write down the poetries and they'll sing it. And that was the tradition of that time. On the day of Badr, before I go there, so this time, this is the Muslims' first battle. There are only 313. The army is scared that they have 1,000 number of people who are all equipped with all the resources of war, of battle. They have camel, horses, and everything. And these 313 Mu'minin are struggling to have even, the training or the equipment to fight. So of course, it was imbalanced. It was completely imbalanced army facing each other. And surely that's why Prophet was praying to Allah that Allah, we do need your help. And it is said that I think it comes in the Quran. There's a Quranic verse about this battle, chapter 8, which is named as Surah Anfal, which means the spoils of war. And if you were to read verses 9 to 14, it talks about this time. What had happened when Prophet prayed that Allah, please help us because we are really, really outnumbered. And if we do not win this battle, it will be a difficult situation for Muslims. So Allah actually, Jibreel comes and reveals this verses. And in this verse, Allah actually gives glad tidings because these warriors, these courageous Mu'minins came forward to fight, defend Islam. And Allah says that He will send His 1,000 angels to fight beside them. And very interestingly, Allah says that, I'm giving you this glad tidings so your heart can stay reassured. Trust in Allah. Don't be scared. Don't be fearing your enemy. Victory is from Allah. So you do whatever you can. Victory is from Allah. And then, very interestingly, Allah says that He will put terror in the heart of enemy. When the army is looking in front of the army, it's very small. They don't have resources. They are stronger with all the resources, with all the training. But it was invisible help of Allah, Gaibana Madad, that they felt this terror in their heart, fear of Muslim army, which is a smaller, inequipped. So what happens on the day of Badr? The three champions of Quraysh, Utbah, Shayba, and Al-Walid stepped out and challenged the Muslim of equal rank. It has to be in blood and family. And it is being said that these were Abu Sufyan, who was the enemy, his wife's father, uncle, and a brother or cousin. They are the ones who came in front to fight because Abu Sufyan is part of the enemy. They come in front to fight, and it has to be always, the response has to be from the family or blood. Surely to fight them, who comes forward? Prophet calls Hazrat Hamza, who is his uncle, Ubaidah, who is his cousin, and Hazrat Ali, who is also cousin brother. To meet the challenge, Hazrat Ali was only in his early 20s at this time. Hamza killed Utbah, Hazrat Ali killed Al-Walid, and then two of them turned to Shayba, who had mortally wounded Ubayd, the first martyr of the battle. So in this combat, surely the Muslim warriors win, and they lose. The first round of the battle was clearly in Muslims' favor, but the odds continued to be against the small Muslim army. However, divine help in response to the Prophet's prayer, as recorded in Quran chapter 8, which is the spoils of wars, verses 9 to 14. And Hazrat Ali's valor routed the superior Meccan army after inflicting 50 to 70 casualties on it. Hazrat Ali alone slew almost half of the Meccan dead. Maula Ali slew half of the Meccan. Can you imagine? He's in his early 20s. His courage, his bravery, his skill, battle skill was beyond any praises. He was so strong, and he fought this battle. Why? To defend Prophet Muhammad, to defend Islam. It was the Battle of Badr which laid the foundation of the Muslim state. The decisive victory of the Muslims, despite the great odds against them, made them a force to be reckoned with in the Arabian Peninsula. Thus, Hazrat Ali's role in it was doubly significant, since it ensured the well-being and the future progress of the Muslim state and religion of Islam. So in other words, what we are reading the role of our Imam at that time, how Maula Ali physically fought this war to protect Islam. There's so much more about Badr to talk about, but we'll stay and keep reading the article. The second battle is Battle of Uhud. The Battle of Uhud was fought in 625. The proud Quraysh, still smarting from the disgrace of their defeat at the hands of a much smaller, less equipped army of the Muslims, gathered a large army to avenge the setback of the previous year. And even before, we go to Battle of Uhud, explaining that they were so angry, they felt insulted. So, there is a one battle which was very small, Abu Sufyan got so angry that he actually attacks with his army and then he leaves. I was reading about it from my REC book. I wonder if you have seen this book. Those of you who have studied REC 11, 12 grade, I'm literally reading my REC religious education book and telling you from that book. So Abu Sufyan had attacked with 200, 300 people entering and ruining the cattle and animals and whatnot, and then he got scared because he just attacked without any plan. As soon as they left, he attacks and he then leaves, causing harm to Muslim community in Medina. But surely because nobody knew about it, he comes and he leaves. He's so feeling insulted. So the only objective he had after that was to just make the army stronger, collect them together so he can take the revenge. So what had happened, Prophet Muhammad, fully aware of the great advantage of numbers and the arms Meccan army had over his, strategically placed his men on rising ground. So the beauty of this battle was that the place where this was fought, the name is Uhud, and it was a hilly area where Muslim can go up in that hill, they can see the enemy, and the arrow archers can sit on the hill and attack the army. So Prophet Muhammad knew this advantage and he was very pleased, and strategically he placed his men on the rising ground with 50 archers protecting their backs. Further up the mountain side, the archers were personally instructed by the Prophet not to leave their position, regardless of the turn the battle took. The battle opened with usual challenges to single combat. Hazrat Ali answered the first call of the standard bearer of the Meccan troops. Talha bin Ibn Abi Talha, he actually calls upon who is going to fight. In fact, there's a dialogue, very famous dialogue. He says, being sarcastic, that tell me who's going to put me in hell, or let me kill you so you can go to your paradise, because that was Muslim teaching. So he was insulting and he was talking like that. Surely Maula Ali responds and swords were crossed, and with a single stroke, Maula Ali severed the Meccan's head. Then followed more members of Talha's family who strove to defend their hereditary function of bearing the standard. They had the flag in their hand. None of them, however, was a match for Hazrat Ali. The Meccan army was demoralized by the swift dispatch of its standard bearers, one after the another, one after the another. It was only Maula Ali and Hazrat Hamza taking advantage of this, broke through the army lines and they advanced. So they went into the enemy. The enemy began to flee before them because they got so scared of Maula Ali and Hazrat Hamza, they ran away. Some of the Muslim soldiers became prematurely overconfident and abandoning the battle, began to accumulate the gains of war. Seeing this situation, those archers who were sitting at the hill, they disobeyed the Prophet and they went down wanting to get the spoils of the wars. Guess what? This is being seen by Khalid bin Walid, who is leading the army. When he saw that, he gathers his people and he attacks back. Now Muslims are coming in without thinking of fighting because in their head they have won the war and they have attacked back. Now there was such a mix at that time, they could not distinguish who is the enemy, who is the friend. They were killing each other. And it was such a chaotic environment at that time that the war which they were winning, they started to lose. The events which followed could have led to a resounding defeat for the Muslim. The Prophet suffered a minor injury, and a rumor was deliberately spread by the Meccans that he had been killed. There was another Muslim man who looked like Prophet Muhammad, and he was killed. And seeing him being killed, Meccans actually spread this rumor that Prophet Muhammad has died. When people heard that, Muslim became more chaotic. Oh, Prophet has died, now we have no leader. And they are trying to run away, and it's just a chaos. Hazrat Hamza gets killed in this chaotic situation. Prophet Muhammad gets injured. In fact, somebody fists him and he loses his two front teeth. It was a very chaotic environment at that time. And surely Maula Ali gets concerned that, they can martyr Prophet Muhammad. And he protects Prophet Muhammad with Hamza and other two more warrior. They kind of stand around Prophet Muhammad and they protect him. They continue to fight the enemy until they were able to push back the enemy. At that time, the story goes that in order to protect the prophet, because they were hitting him, right? They were trying to get into it, and these four warriors are standing in front, that there was a ditch kind of, and Maula Ali pushes Prophet Muhammad to be in the ditch to protect him because they were fighting. And that's how Maula Ali protects Prophet. Despite that, he loses his two front teeth and he's injured too. During this time, Prophet is calling for help because it's war, they were losing. And Jibreel comes down and angels in the heaven, admiring Maula Ali, started reciting, La Fatah illa Ali, La Saif illa Zulfikar. There is no ideal man except Ali, and no sword except Zulfikar. They're praising. All the angels are praising. And the Battle of Badr laid the foundation of Islamic State. The Battle of Uhud was in danger of destroying the precious foundation had it not been for the illustrious action and heroism of Hazrat Ali and a few other Muslims who rallied to his call. And they protected Prophet and they were able to win the war. The enemy had to go away and they won the war. But Maula Ali's role was such that everybody saw it. The humans in the physical world and angels seeing him from the heavens, praising him, his bravery, his courage, and that's how this is Hadith-e Qudsi. This is revealed by Jibreel to Prophet Muhammad, but it was not added to Quran, and we do know what were the reasons. All those people were jealous of Maula Ali. So this is about Maula Ali's praise, total praise of Maula Ali. Surely they did not put it in Quran. But remember that saying that truth cannot be hidden. It is very known in Sunni and Shia scholars in our books that this verse was revealed to Prophet and it is called Hadith-e Qudsi, and we say it as a tasbih, as a zikr. La Fatah illa Ali, La Saif illa Zulfikar. Whenever we are in difficulty, we call upon Maula Ali and his sword to help us out. Surely, sword today is the knowledge of Tawil, the Tawili knowledge of Maula Ali. The Battle of Khandak, or trench, ditch, moat. So there are so many different names. It is also known as the Battle of Azab. It took place in 627. The word Azab is actually from Azab, and which means groups of people. And Azab is plural. And there is a Quranic chapter 33, which is named as Azab, Al-Azab. So Hazr, the meaning of Hazr is a group. Azab is plural of it. Why did they name this Battle of Azab or Battle of Khandak? There are reasons. The reason it is Azab because Quraysh actually, when Muslim won the war of Uhud and Badr, all other surrounding tribes, they got concerned that Muslims are becoming very strong. So they started getting connected to Quraysh to suppress or to beat down Muslims. So this time when they came to attack, they were different people, not just Meccans. There were other tribes included, and it was a group of people who wanted to attack Muslim. And Khandak name is due to different reason. We'll read about it. The Meccans had mustered an army of 10,000 this time. How many? 10,000 strong, consisting of the Quraysh, other Meccan tribes, several pagan Bedouin tribes, and the Jewish tribes of Banu Nazir, all intent on annihilating the Prophet and his followers. So the enemies are increasing in numbers. Against such a mighty host, the Prophet could muster only 3,000 fighters. He therefore decided that this would have to be a war of defense. On the advice of Persian follower Salman Farsi, who knew about siege warfare, the Prophet agreed that a deep trench should be dug around Medina, making it impregnable. So it was Salman Farsi idea, his idea, to make a deep trench around the Medina so they cannot come across into Medina. The Meccans and their allies were thoroughly taken aback by this unexpected strategy and they were forced to camp some distance away from Medina. However, a small band of horsemen led by Amr ibn Abd Wad, whose fame and skill as a fighter were recited in poetry. He was such a strong warrior that he was being praised in poetry, and talked about around Karwan fires, decided to jump their horses across the narrow point of the trench. So the trench is all around the Medina, but it was one place, it was narrow. Him being the good warrior, he wanted to jump that trench. The situation became tense, but Hazrat Ali acted promptly. Together with a small group of Muslims, he sealed off the point of entry to prevent any more enemies from penetrating their defenses. Amr ibn Abd in the meantime, was boisterously calling for a single combat. So what had happened, and this is from this book I'm reading, I'm telling you that what he does, he tries to jump, but he falls onto the trench and Maula Ali jumps in immediately. And he's calling upon single combat and Maula Ali comes forward. But in vain, his reputation as a fighter was too well known. Sure, he had a vanity in his head that he can fight anybody. Hazrat Ali, satisfied that the weak point in the trench was well guarded, turned to Amr and accepted his challenge. Amr hesitated since he had been a great friend of Hazrat Abu Talib, Maula Ali's father. However, Hazrat Ali gave him two options. So when he was hesitating, Maula Ali said, either you accept Islam or you fight me. Whatever you choose, I'm okay with it. So he says no. He gets off the horse. Why? Because he was a huge, strong man, very huge man. And he saw Maula Ali, such a young kid, a friend of, son of my friend. I have to pity him. That's how his thought was. And he comes down the horse to fight Maula Ali. Maula Ali is young, small, petite guy, and he draws his sword and he advances towards Maula Ali, much younger, less experienced. Soon the two combatants were surrounded by a cloud of dust because they were in the trench. Nobody could see what was going on, but they were fighting in that dust cloud. Soon what had happened, all heard this sound, Allahu Akbar, meaning Maula Ali had slew him. Maula Ali kills him and he becomes a victor. When it was reported, this news travels and this death of Amr is being broken to his sister, who is a poetess. When she heard this news, you know what she says? It is so interesting. And she says, if the killer of Amr had been any other man, I would have wept forever. But the slayer of Amr cannot be charged with any defect. He was a man who was called of old the foremost of the land, the foremost of the land. He is always first in everything. And if he has killed my brother, I am okay with it. Imagine Maula Ali's name and fame about his bravery, about his ethics, about his courage, that for Amr's sister, it was acceptable if Maula Ali had killed him. The defeat of Amr, their star warrior, the failure of the Meccans to attack across the trench The unsuccessful outcome of their intrigues with Jews inside Medina, combined with the inclement weather and shortage of provision for such a large army, forced the Meccans to retreat. So it is being said that they stayed there outside Medina for literally 30 plus days, to the extent that Medinans, they were out of food. Children were crying. There was lack of food. Mothers were, hungry. They had no milk coming on, and they were so worried and praying, and they were about to give up this, weight, because they needed people to come in to bring food. They could not go out. Nobody could come in. But imagine this army, they gave up first before the patience of Muslims run out. That is the example of patience. When we talk of sabr and saburi, this is the example of sabr and saburi for us from the history. Literally, the stories, the poetry says that the mothers are trying to feed their babies, but there's no milk because moms have been hungry. They had no food in their belly for so many days. So there were so many beautiful stories one got to read, those who are interested. The Prophet pronounced two famous statements as the Battle of Khandaq ended. So Khandaq from Muslim side, because they had dig this trench. Khandaq means to trench. The duel of Ali bin Abi Talib against Amr bin Abdul Wad at the Battle of Maut outweighs the good deeds of my whole community until the day of judgment. Until the day of judgment. Maula Ali's battle with Amr was so elevated. When we talk of battle, we talk of jihad. Today's time, the jihad is different, but in that time, this was jihad. And Maula Ali, being the foremost, he won that jihad. He also said that the Khandaq marked the last offensive of his enemies, the Meccans. From that time onwards, the Prophet would initiate any military action in order to secure the future of Islam. And then comes the Battle of Khyber. So no more defense fighting, now it's offensive. Battle of Khyber against the Jews, which took place in 628. So while Prophet had decided to go against Jews, because they started bothering Muslims too, because Muslims became stronger and strong and they got worried. So most military operations which the Prophet undertook, which took place in 628. From the beginning of his settlement in Medina, the Prophet had offered generous terms to Jews, their freedom of worship as the people of the book, Ahl-al-Kitab, because they are also follower of the Prophet and they have book too. So he respected them. He offered them the teachings of Quran. However, the Jews of Medina and its surrounding areas responded to his tolerance with scheming and outright treachery. They were trying to create problems, play tricks on Prophet and Muslims. Therefore, Prophet decided to eliminate the threat they posed to Islamic State by attacking their most impregnable stronghold, Khyber. So the castle of Khyber is known to be really, really very strong. Nobody can defeat or enter that castle. With a large army, he laid siege to that rocky fortress. The siege was prolonged because Khyber was not a single fort, rather a series of forts, of which one called Al-Qamas was the most impregnable. During this siege, Hazrat Ali was confined to his tent, suffering from an inflammation of the eyes. Prophet Muhammad therefore asked Hazrat Abu Bakr to lead the first attack. However, it was repelled and the Muslims turned back unsuccessful. The same situation prevailed on the following day when the Prophet ordered Hazrat Umar to lead the second onslaught. Disappointed and worried by the continued lack of success of the Muslims, the Prophet announced, "Tomorrow I will definitely give the standard to a man who loves God and his messenger, and God and his messenger love him, and at his hand God will grant victory." So surely they're trying, but nobody is able to enter into this rocky fortress, Al-Qamas. And then Prophet says that I will announce tomorrow who's going to fight. the one who is loved by Allah and the Prophet, and he also loves Allah and Prophet. And surely Muslims were all the companions of the Prophet. They were praying that they want to get that um, uh, acknowledgement, appreciation, credit that they are the ones who love Allah and the Prophet, because they all wanted to be foremost in loving Allah and Prophet. But it was not that who loves Allah and Prophet. Allah and the Prophet loves him too. And that was surely the Imam of that time, and that is Maula Ali. And Maula Ali led the attack, and surely the way he fought, his vigor, his selfless dedication to help Muslim in single combat, he eliminated several heroes of Jews, several heroes, including Marhab, who was considered the supreme champion of the Jewish forces. Maula Ali being Maula Ali, he's his average height and weight. He was able to kill all these big, heavy, hefty champions without any problem. And Maula Ali does the duel with him, and surely he loses. And very interestingly, it is said in Khyber's story, Maula Ali, normally when they fight, they have sword and the shield, right? Maula Ali loses his shield, and Maula Ali is fighting at that time. What Maula Ali does, he literally gets the door and he uses the door as a shield. And then when that door is, Maula Ali drops it, and there are people stronger than Maula Ali, bigger than Maula Ali, trying to move that shield, that door. Nobody could move it except Maula Ali. One may wonder how Maula Ali did this miracle. And if you were to read about how he used to eat, which was very limited, mostly he was fasting, he would eat one meal a day. Why and how this power? People have asked this. It was the power of the Ism-e-Azam. And we read in stories of our prophets too. If you were to really look into how they were able to do what they were able to do, it was the power of the Ism-e-Azam. I get reminded about the story of Hazrat Musa, when all the magicians came and they threw their stick in the ground, trying to see whose stick lasts, and everybody's sticks become snake. And Hazrat Musa alayhi salam's stick becomes huge anaconda, and it swallows all those snakes. That's a story, but the ta'wil is that it was his Ism-e-Azam that helped him won over all those magicians. Same is the story of Maula Ali, that the power of Maula's name is so strong that it is unimaginable strength. Sometimes we may not realize what Maula has given us in the form of Ism-e-Azam, the strength, the power of it. But when we read these stories, the purpose is to praise Maula Ali and understand how they were able to do this. They were like us, eating less than us, sleeping less than us, remembering more than us. How did Maula Ali won all these wars? How did he have so much of strength and power? He is teaching us from his example to follow his footsteps of remembrance of Ism-e-Azam. Then no enemy is strong in front of us. When we say La Fatah illa Ali, La Saif illa Zulfikar, when we call upon Maula Ali's help and his sword, what does that mean? We are not going to hold on to sword and fight anyone. It is the strength of the name we have. Surely the Muslim soldiers surged through the breach made by Maula Ali. Khyber was finally subjugated. This particular battle proved that Hazrat Ali had no parallel for courage and valor in the history of Islam, which abounds with example of his single-handed amazing feats of heroism. Hazrat Ali was able to achieve singly what a number of stalwart Muslims found hard to accomplish together. Hazrat Ali was truly the supreme mujahid, jihad maker or fighter in the cause of Islam. the conquest of Mecca and the purification of Kaaba from idols. Now, in Sahaba, should we continue, right? We should finish this part, right, friends?
Yes, it would be a good idea to.
Okay. Peace between the Muslims and their old enemies, the Quraysh of Mecca, was guaranteed by the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, according to which neither side would interfere in the affairs of other. However, in 629, the Quraysh helped their ally, the Banu Kinana, against the tribe of Bani Huzayah, who were the Prophet's allies, and as such had his protection. So what Quraysh did, they are trying to make allies now, and what they did, they were going against a treaty. So what Prophet had done, he mustered the army of 12,000 strong warriors and marched towards Makkah. This time it is offensive fight. They are coming towards Makkah. They are not trying to defend themselves anymore, and camped just outside it. And all the enemies were so scared by Prophet and Mullah Ali's bravery that they were all losing hope without even facing the army. Abu Sufyan, who is the leader of the Meccan Quraysh, was greatly perturbed and rode out to the Prophet's camp under the protection of Abbas. He spent the night there, and in the morning he accepted the faith of Islam and was told by Prophet that he who overtook shelter in his house would therefore be protected. Him being the leader, he got so scared, even before the morning, he goes there and accepts Islam because he did not find any guts to fight this 12,000 strong army. The Holy Prophet and his mighty army marched into Makkah and made their way straight into Kaaba, where he broke all the lower idols with his stick. Those which were out of his reach, he commanded Hazrat Ali to climb on his shoulders in order to destroy them. This event of Hazrat Ali climbing on Holy Prophet's shoulders to break the idols is the subject of many poets' eulogy throughout history. The conquest of Mecca was almost bloodless. Imagine the army is so powerful, so strong, and they are there to fight, but they did not have to fight at all. It was bloodless. The leader of their army, he accepted Islam. And this was marked as the end of paganism in the city. No more pagans. They cleaned up the Kaaba from all the idols. And then comes the Battle of Hunain. Outside the city of Makkah, however, some pagan tribes felt threatened. Surely they were scared of this Muslim army. They do not have to lose much. They don't have to fight much. And they fight everywhere. They win everywhere. So, of course, they got scared. A tribe called Hawazin, aware of the imminent danger, reacted by exerting force of arms. The Holy Prophet marched out with his larger army of 12,000 soldiers towards them. The battle took place in a narrow valley where a surprise attack from the enemy caused panic in Prophet's army, who began to scatter and flee. However, as usual, bearing the Prophet's standard, Hazrat Ali stood his ground in front of the Prophet, whereas a handful of the Banu Hashim, that is Prophet's family, surrounded the Prophet on three sides, protecting him from onslaught of the enemy. The Battle of Hunain is mentioned in Surah Tawbah, chapter 9, verse 25 and 26. How many fled from the scene? How Allah helped the Prophet through his invisible hosts and punished those who disbelieved. Very interesting how Allah had sent help of marked angels to protect Islam and to protect the Prophet. The defeat of the pagan Hawazin marked the end of paganism throughout the Hijaz. In the distribution of the booty from this battle, preference was given to newly converted Meccans Muslim, which caused some murmurs of dissent amongst the Ansar of Medina. Remember, all the purpose of this article is to talk about the events related to Maula Ali. So surely they won the war, they got the spoils of war, but we are focusing very at a particular aspect. The Holy Prophet said to his old friends, so Maula Ali is the one who is distributing the spoils of wars based on the instructions of Prophet Muhammad. And what Maula Ali was doing, he was giving the spoils to newly converted Meccans because they were new and they were needing help. Maula Ali being fair and just, he was giving it to them. Now the Madinan, who are now well-to-do, they have businesses, they are doing well, they are winning the wars, they being the winners, they wanted all the spoils of war for themselves. And what Prophet Muhammad says to them, do you wish to have more of the worldly goods, such as sheep, goats, or do you want me? They all replied with one voice that they wanted him. In this way, the delicate situation was averted to the Prophet's and his companions' satisfaction. So in summary, what we are saying, Hazrat Ali's performance on the battlefield in the defense of Islam has become legendary. He was never defeated in single combat, and whenever he led the Muslim armies in battle, God always granted victory to the Muslim at his hands. And he became the most important part of the history of Islam, being brave, being courageous. In Arabia, and both his followers as well as his enemy acknowledge his superiority in this sphere. His battlemanship is praised everywhere in enemies as well as in Muslims. There are many outstanding points to note about Hazrat Ali's role as the supreme mujahid of Islam. Both Hazrat Ali's contemporaries as well as future generation of Muslims have been so overawed by Hazrat Ali's bravery that a whole series of miraculous stories have been woven around his achievements. There are poetries and there are stories of his miracles all over in Shia Islam and Sunni Islam, to the extent that people have attributed miraculous powers to his mount Duldul and his sword Zulfikar. You know, we have heard stories. As a child, I have heard stories that Maula Ali's horse, in Ginan pieces, Duldul Sawar, Tari to Taran Ginan, in that Ginan, the last verse talks about the Duldul Sawar, which is Maula Ali's horse. Not actually horse, it's a mule, and his sword. And what is being written in this article, it's very interesting. It has been claimed that the steed and the sword descended from heaven. For instance, the truth of the matter, though, is that Zulfikar was simply an ordinary sword captured during a battle, which the Prophet presented to Hazrat Ali. So it was a simple, ordinary sword. But because it was Maula Ali's sword, we hear its name. And for Duldul, being a heavenly horse, it was not even a horse, it was a mule. And you know, it's very interesting that all the warriors, the champions, the foremost warriors, all had horses, but Maula Ali never had a horse. And when Maula Ali was asked, you know what he said? He replied that since he neither intended to chase an enemy in flight, nor intended himself to flee from the battlefield, a mule was quite adequate for him. Such were his ethics on the battlefield. Another characteristic of Hazrat Ali which amazed and baffled people was his strict code of chivalry on the battlefield. This is best summed up in his advice to his son, Muhammad ibn Hanifia. So Maula Ali is giving advice to his son. And listen to this. And I would like us to listen to it as if we are being given this advice. We are that warriors, and we have to have this jihad with our nafs ammara. Because there has to be a lesson too, right? For us when we are studying something, these beautiful articles, it's not only about history, it's about how we can apply the history to us in today's time. So Maula Ali is saying, O son, let the mountains move from their places, but your foot should not falter from that place that has been assigned to you in the battlefield. Install your feet firmly on the ground as though a nail had been driven into them. In your feet, the nail has been driven. Let your one jaw of teeth rest firmly on the other jaw. Keep an eye on the rear of your enemy. Enter the battle with a firm determination that you have sold your head to God. With all this, always think that success lies in the hands of God. You do everything possible, but never expect that you will be victorious, because victory is in the hands of God. Above all, never raise your hand against the sick, women, aged, and children. Even if they abuse you, it behoves you to give them refuge. Never mutilate the limbs of the enemy or any other person. Give decent burial to the bodies of your enemies. What Maula Ali is saying? How can we relate to this last part? Never backbite. Even they are your enemies, do not say bad thing about them. Treat them respectfully.
Yeah.
More than one incident of Hazrat Ali's demonstration of his code or ethic is recorded for posterity. A famous incident took place during the Battle of Khandak. Hazrat Ali, during a single combat, had thrown his opponent, Umar, to the ground, when the enemy, as last insult, spat in his face. Hazrat Ali, turning away, left his enemy alive. Surprised onlookers asked Maula Ali, why are you leaving your enemy alive? He'll kill you. And Maula Ali says, interesting, look at these words. Maula Ali says that he would have killed Umar for the sake of God and Islam, but when he spat at him, he lost his temper. And if in that state he had completed the execution of Umar, it would have been done in anger and retaliation, rather than in the way of God and the spirit of jihad. So if there are people who hurt us, who truly give us pain in our life, leave them in their place, move away, because anything you do in your, inside your emotions, if you are reacting even in a tiny bit, it will become your fault in Allah's eyes, because you are reacting. And whoever is in front of you, they are surely, shaitan gives bazi, right? So it is truly shaitan's trap for you to react and do what shaitan wants you to do, meaning react. A moment is calm, stable, does not want to react. And this is Maula Ali's example. This is battlefield, and Maula Ali is a warrior. This guy is on the ground, and just to provoke him, he spits on him, and Maula Ali leaves him. No more, I give you life. Because what he said, this is his ethics, that it will be out of the reaction, because Maula Ali felt anger. Imagine, what do we need to do? How do we need to protect our good deeds? Somebody causes anger in us, somebody hurts us, move away from them, because they will take away your good kamai, your good deeds. Protect yourself, protect your good deeds. Maula Sultan Ahmad Shah says that when you have a treasure with you, you got to protect it. You cannot even yawn. So you have to be very alert and awake, because we are who? We are mujahideen. We are the warriors, and we are following the example of Maula Ali. A similar event took place at the Battle of Siffin. Muawiyah, fully aware that if he accepted the challenge of the customary single combat with Hazrat Ali, would not come out of it alive. What he did, he bribed Amr ibn al-As with the governorship of Egypt. So in the Battle of Siffin, Muawiyah knew that all the champions or heads fight. So what he does, he gives him bribe that I will make you a governor of the Egypt. When Maula Ali calls, you jump in to fight. And this man, who's very clever with cowardliness, he's a coward man, what he does, in the duel when Maula Ali is in front of him, and when Maula Ali is about to, take his life, what he does, he very cleverly, the way he was wearing clothes, he pulls one string and his butt becomes visible. He's exposed now. And Maula Ali moves away because he's indecent. And Maula will not attack him, not fight him, because he's indecent. And that's how he protects his life in front of Maula Ali. So these were the tactics they had to use, unethical, lowly, to be protected from Maula Ali, because they knew Maula Ali's ethics, that no matter what, Maula Ali will never compromise in ethics. Wherever he is, even in the battlefield, he will not kill us. He will give us life. And that's what they took the advantage of, Maula Ali's ethics. The historical period of Hazrat Ali required from him participation in numerous battles and expeditions against the enemies of Islam. In all of them, his extraordinary, superhuman qualities of extreme heroism, combined with his strict code of chivalry, have left a rich heritage of stories and anecdotes which arouse in his enemies a reluctant admiration, tinged with envy, and in his followers a deep yearning to follow his example. Exactly what I was saying, that when we read this in our heart, we want to follow his example. But surely his enemies, they were also admiring him, but their admiration was mixed with envy, and surely there was reluctance. And they took advantage of his ethics in battlefield, because they knew how Maula Ali will never compromise in his ethics and his values. So alhamdulillah, we were able to finish the part 3. Shukranillah walhamdulillah. I really stick to the article, otherwise there's so much to share that we would not be able to finish. So I'm glad that you liked it. Thank you so much. Shukran Maula. I feel very passionate about reading about Maula Ali. All right, we'll talk about that. It's already late, so inshallah we'll see you next Thursday about this article, and we'll continue to talk. Thank you for asking your question. Thank you, friends, for joining. It is beautiful to read about Maula Ali. It just makes me so happy, and I hope that you feel that happiness too. Shukran Maula, and give us tawfiq tai to follow our Maula's example. Shukran lillah walhamdulillah. Shukran lillah walhamdulillah. Yali madad.
Ya Madad.
Yali madad Karima. Yali madad.
Yali Madad.
Yali madad Anu. Yali madad.